Bitcoin is currently in a huge downtrend and we might see some more downtrend in the coming days, but we could also see a lot of fireworks unfold before the end of the year. And in this video I will tell you everything what we can expect for Bitcoin in the coming days and how you can prepare for next year. There's also a lot of interesting news and data coming into the market which I will discuss with you in this video, and I will discuss everything you need to know to be prepared for 2025. I will also have a look at the two altcoins Ethereum and Vechain, but about that later in the video. So you want to watch this video all the way to the end? Please slap up that like button because it will help this channel a lot. And in the description under this video you can find a link to my free Telegram group where you can join for free. With that being said, let's dive right into the charts. On the 4-hour time frame, Bitcoin is in this huge formation and we are seeing multiple touch points on the top side as resistance, and also on the lower side we can see this huge horizontal support coming into play. Currently it looks like Bitcoin is going to break below the support, so this is looking very crucial and this critical level needs to hold in order to become a little bit more bullish. And if we're going to hold this level and Bitcoin can maybe see a revisit of this resistance on the top side, we can maybe finally see a breakout to the top side, because this downward sloping resistance line needs to be broken to the top side in order to become more bullish. And if we're going to see a confirmation of the breakout to the top side, we have to wait for a retest of this previous resistance as support, and from there we can enter the market in the long and then we can aim for higher targets. And then the top side of this formation will be confluent with the breakout target, and that of course is confluent with the previous all-time high of $108,000. So if Bitcoin is going to see a huge breakout out of this formation, we are going to maybe see a new all-time high eventually in the coming weeks. But of course, as I'm always saying, there's always a bearish scenario possible, and that means that we're going to see a break below the support area and that we're going to see a confirmation of the break. Then if we're going to see a retest of the support to test it as resistance, you can enter the market here for Bitcoin in a short and then aim for lower prices. And then we have some levels to the downside, but I will talk about that later in the video. And looking at another chart on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that this huge upward sloping support area was being respected. And last week we saw a break below this support area and we retested it as resistance. And now we can also almost see that we're going to see a retest again. But after this retest, we saw a more downside for Bitcoin unfolding. And from this bearish retest, you could have entered the market in the short, and then you could have already made a trade of more than 7%. So this could be a very interesting trade to make, especially when you are leverage trading. So for now, Bitcoin broke this huge upward sloping support line, and we are now seeing more of a bearish trend unfolding. So let's see what will happen in the coming days. And of course, the breakdown target of this formation will be confluent with the first touch of this support area, and that will be confluent with the $86,000. So this could be a very interesting level for Bitcoin to come back to. And also, I'm very much interested in buying more Bitcoin at these prices, and later in the video I will reveal my limit orders for Bitcoin where I will buy more Bitcoin for the long term. And the last few days we saw a little bit of an inflow for the Bitcoin ETFs. We saw a $475.2 million in total inflow on the 26th of December. But on the 27th of December we saw a little bit of outflow of 287 million. So we are seeing a little bit of a mixed days in the last weeks, but of course there's still a huge inflow in the last year, and the Bitcoin ETF is almost 1 year old, and we are seeing a total cumulative inflow of more than $35.5 million, which is insane of course. And here you can see the graph of the total cumulative inflow for the Bitcoin spot ETFs, and we are seeing exponential growth, especially in the last half year. So this is insane of course, and of course there's also a lot of interesting news about the Ethereum ETF, which I will discuss with you later in the video. And if we have a look at the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, we can see this huge horizontal support is coming into play again, and we are retesting this support just like I said earlier in my video. And on the top side we can see this formation unfolding, so it looks a little bit like a broadening wedge for Bitcoin. So let's see if Bitcoin can hold this support on the lower side, and if we're going to see a separation of this support again, we could potentially create more upside from here, and we need to create a higher low from here, and that will create a new bullish uptrend. And then we can see more bullish momentum coming into the market. But for now we can see this bearish trend unfolding with lower lows and lower highs. So this is looking a little bit more bearish. But of course in the past we can see a lot of price interaction at this level. So let's see if Bitcoin can hold this level. And if it does, we can finally see more bullish momentum coming into the market. And we also have a lot of interesting news coming in. We can see that Hong Kong lawmaker proposes adding Bitcoin to national reserves to boost financial security. So in Hong Kong, they're trying to put Bitcoin in the national reserves because it maybe will fix the country and it will give some extra stimulus to the economical situation. And also we saw that the publicly traded Genius Group buys another $10 million in Bitcoin for its Bitcoin treasury. So companies are stacking up Bitcoin like crazy, just like Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy, and a lot of other big companies are stacking up. So let's see if all these companies are going to buy more Bitcoin in 2025. And if it does, a lot of other countries and companies will follow most likely. And we can also see that El Salvador is just continuing to DCA more Bitcoin. And they now hold 6,000 Bitcoin in total. And this is worth $570 million. So let's see if other countries are also going to buy Bitcoin. And if this is going to happen, we will most likely see Bitcoin going to fly in 2025. And earlier in the video, I was talking about some interesting price levels I'm looking at for Bitcoin. So if we're going lower, I'm going to buy more Bitcoin. And at these white lines, I have my limit orders ready for Bitcoin to buy more for the long term. So every time we touch a lower level, I'm going to buy more Bitcoin. But of course, we could also see that Bitcoin is just going to bounce to the top side and never come to this level again. But of course, if Bitcoin is going lower and lower, I'm going to stack up more Bitcoin because I think we will just fly above the $100,000 eventually. And from there, you could make it interesting gains to the top side. So for instance, if Bitcoin comes to this place and we're going back to the $100,000, that's already a 15% increase. So this is insane, of course. And if we have a closer look at the 4-hour time frame, we can see that these levels are very interesting with the previous price action in the history of Bitcoin. We can see a lot of price interaction here with these lines, and every time we touch these levels, there's a lot of interesting price action unfolding. So my limit orders are set for Bitcoin, and every time we come a little bit lower, I'm going to buy more for the long term. And let me know in the comments, where are your price targets for Bitcoin, and do you also have some limit orders ready to buy more Bitcoin? On the short term, it looks a little bit bearish, but on the long term, we can see that Bitcoin is still in this huge uptrend on the daily time frame, and we can see higher lows and higher highs unfolding. And this uptrend is still intact because we're still creating higher lows, because this higher low is unfolding right now. But of course, if Bitcoin is going to break below this level and create a lower low, that means that Bitcoin is going to shift into a bearish trend. But that is not what we want to see, of course. So let's see if Bitcoin can create a higher low in relation to this previous higher low. So that would mean that Bitcoin would still be in an uptrend, and then we just can continue the bullish momentum to the top side. So as I'm always saying, the trend is your friend until it ends. And for now, the trend is up. So I think we will just see a continuation of the bullish momentum. And 3 years ago, Elon Musk said that Tesla would accept Bitcoin as a payment again for Tesla when the clean energy usage exceeds 50%. And currently, Bitcoin clean energy usage now exceeds 50%. So this could be the time that Tesla is going to accept Bitcoin as payment again. And if it does, it will of course be very bullish for the crypto market and especially for Bitcoin in general. So this could be the catalyst for the next big bull run in 2025. And let me know in the comments, do you think that Elon Musk will accept Bitcoin payments again for Tesla? And if we're going to see what price level for Bitcoin will we see after this news is coming out. And last week in my video, I said this bearish divergence was unfolding for Bitcoin on the weekly chart. On the chart, we are seeing higher highs unfolding, but on the RSI, we are seeing lower highs unfolding. And this indicated a huge bearish divergence, and it is currently playing out like expected. So at this huge local high, and of course this was also confluent with the previous all-time high, we are seeing this huge bearish divergence unfolding, and we are seeing a little bit of a correction. And also in the RSI, we are seeing a little bit of a correction, and we are now coming back to levels around the 60. So this is very bullish territory for Bitcoin. And of course, this could have been the cool-off price action for Bitcoin we were all waiting for. So these are the times to be more bullish on Bitcoin and to look for entries to buy more Bitcoin for the long term. So let's see if we can finally see a higher low play, because in the weekly time frame we can also see this huge uptrend for Bitcoin is unfolding, and this is looking very bullish. So if you watched my previous videos, you could have been warned about this bearish divergence, and I hope you took some profits at the previous all-time high. And the first interesting altcoin I want to have a look at is Ethereum. We can see that Ethereum is respecting these horizontal resistance and support levels very carefully. And every time we touch this level, we are seeing price interaction happening. And a couple weeks ago, we retested this previous high. And we saw a huge rejection unfolding into the market. And now we are seeing a big rejection and a little bit of a bearish move to the downside, just like Bitcoin. Currently, we are trading above the $3,000, but at the local high, it was around the $4,000. So we are seeing a decline of almost 25%. And if we have a look at the Ethereum ETFs, we can see a huge inflows in the last week for the Ethereum ETFs. And in total, we are now seeing an inflow of $2.6 billion. So this is insane, of course. And let's see if the year of 2025 can be more bullish for Ethereum, and especially with all the cumulative inflows into the spot ETFs. And of course, we are seeing a lot of inflows into the BlackRock ETF, but also Fidelity is looking very bullish. We can also see that Grayscale is selling a lot, but most likely they will be out of Ethereum once again in 2025. So of course, if the Ethereum ETF is going to be more bullish in 2025, the price of Ethereum will also pump. And if we then zoom into the 4-hour time frame for Ethereum, we can see that Ethereum created this local top. We also saw that this huge rejection was coming into the market, and now we're seeing a big bearish move to the downside. We also saw that this huge horizontal support was respected carefully every time, but the last time we saw a bearish break and we broke to the downside. And currently we are in this huge formation where the price is getting squeezed into this apex, and on the top side we see a lot of interesting price action unfolding as a resistance, and on the lower side we can see multiple touch points as support. So eventually this price of Ethereum is getting squeezed into its apex, and we will most likely see a break to either the top side or the downside, but the chances are higher that we're going to see a break to the downside because the trend is down, and I think we will see just a continuation of the price of Ethereum to the downside. So be careful trading here, and of course you can trade for this breakout. So you have to wait for a confirmation of the break, then you can wait for a retest of the previous resistance to turn it into support, and from there you can enter the market in the long and aim for higher targets. But we can also see a break to the downside, but then you have to wait for confirmation of the bearish break and wait for a retest of the previous support to test it as resistance, and from here you can enter the market in a short and aim for lower prices. But of course, keep in mind that we're still in a bull run, so everything is possible. And let me know in the comments if you still hold Ethereum in your portfolio, and what is your price prediction for Ethereum in 2025. And the next interesting altcoin I want to have a look at is Vechain. We can see Vechain was in this huge falling wedge formation in the last months. Eventually we broke to the top side, we retested this horizontal support again, and then we saw a huge move to the top side. And this move to the top side was more than 300%, so this was an insane trade to make out of this huge falling wedge formation. And in the last weeks we broke a lot of interesting resistance to the top side, but currently we are seeing a little bit of a retest of this resistance to turn it into support, and this huge resistance level on the top side needs to be painted red again because it is broken to the downside, and currently we are retesting previous support again, so this could also be a very interesting place to buy more Vechain for the long term. But of course we could also see a little bit more bearish move, and that we're eventually going to retest this previous resistance as support, because after we broke into the top side we didn't see a retest. So this could be also a very interesting scenario for Vechain that could play out in the coming weeks. But if we have a look at the 4-hour time frame, we can also see that Vechain is now currently in this huge bearish formation, and we are also seeing a lot of touch points on the top side as resistance, and every time we touch this level to the top side we saw a rejection happening. So this bearish momentum is now unfolding, and we are seeing a lot of downside with multiple lower lows and lower highs. So let's see what Vechain is going to do in the coming days. And let me know in the comments if you still hold Vechain in your portfolio, and if you are still bullish on Vechain for the long term. And if you want to join my free Telegram group, just click the link in the description under this video. Please leave a like if you think the video was useful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.